Did you know the Mughals would have ceased to exist if it wasn't for one man, Humayun? Humayun, better known as Nasir al-Din Muhammad, was born on the 6th of March 1508 in Kabul. He was the eldest son of Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty. Babur was a descendant of Timur and Genghis Khan through his father and mother respectively. Meanwhile, Humayun's mother claims ancestral ties to Timur as well as the renowned Persian Sufi poet Sheikh Ahmed-e-Jami. Though by the time Humayun was born, Babur had just established his base in Kabul. Though as Babur began expanding into the north of India, Humayun would also take part in these battles alongside his father, in which he would acquire valuable military experience in the process. As firstly he engaged in the Battle of Panipat against Ibrahim Lodi's forces in 1526, in which the Mughals emerged victorious, establishing the dynasty in the subcontinent, replacing the previous rulers of the Delhi Sultanates. Humayun was also involved in the Mughal victory in the Battle of Khanwa in 1527, leading to Mughal imperial power being established in the north of India by Babur, in which Agra replaced Kabul as the center of power. Furthermore, at just the age of 20, Humayun became the governor of Badkhshan, acquiring his first experience as a ruler. In the following year, in 1529, Humayun partook in another battle alongside his father in the Battle of Gangara. This resulted in the Mughal Empire annexing Bihar and the surrounding areas. Though, in 1530, Babur passed away at the age of 47, leaving his empire to his 4 sons. The right of inheritance of the throne was not primogeniture, which meant that the firstborn son would become heir to the throne, but rather Babur adopted the policy from Timur, who got it from Genghis Khan, which was the policy of dividing up their territories equally to their remaining sons. As a result, Babur divided it up with his 4 sons, in which Humayun was appointed as the heir to the throne. Meanwhile, his 3 other brothers would assume the governorship of various cities across the empire. Kamran Mirza was given the authority to rule and manage Kabul as well as Kandahar. Meanwhile, Askai Mirza would receive Multan. And lastly, Hindul Mirza was given Malwa. All 3 of Humayun's brothers had desires of ruling the empire. Another problem that Babur left behind in the 4 years he was establishing the Mughal Empire, he was only focused on expansion and did not implement a new system of administration, which would have made the transition for Humayun much easier. Furthermore, the Mughal court at the time was full of nobles who had their own plans to become emperor. Added, the external threat of the Afghans was still present. Despite the fact they were defeated in the Battle of Panipat and Gangara, they weren't completely crushed, in which they refused to submit to Mughal rule. Though this did not stop Humayun from attempting to expand his domain, as in 1531, less than a year into his rule, he conducted an expedition against Kalinjar in Budelkhand, as the Raja that ruled the region was sympathetic to the Afghan threats. Though after a 6-month siege, the Raja finally submitted to Mughal rule. Though this expedition was a Pyrrhic victory for Humayun, as his army did not fully defeat Raja, consequently exposing their weakness. One of the biggest contenders to the Mughal throne was Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Qutb ud-Din Bahadur Shah was a sultan of the Muzafarid dynasty who reigned over the Gujarat Sultanates. Bahadur Shah was increasingly gaining in power as his kingdom had conquered Malwa in 1531 and rising in the following year. Meanwhile, by 1534, tensions rose between Humayun and the Sultan of Gujarat, as he had sheltered Sultan Muhammad Zaman Mirza, who alongside Muhammad Sultan Mirza had just revolted against Humayun, which prompted Humayun to proceed against Bahadur Shah in 1535. Humayun started his operations against Bahadur Shah, who besieged his camp in Chittor. His supplies ran short and he was faced with starvation. He fled and took refuge in the fort of Mandu, in which Humayun subsequently besieged it, capturing it in April 1535. Humayun chased him from Mandu to Chapanar and Ahmedabad, and then to Kumbai, till he was compelled to seek refuge in the island of Diu by August 1535. However, following the appointment of Askari, he failed to restore law and order, in which Bahadur Shah managed to regain control of Gujarat by 1536. Therefore, Humayun turned to his biggest threat, Sher Shah Suri. Suri was born in Bihar in 1472. He was of Pashto Afghan origin, a part of the Sura clan in which they pertained to the Kakar tribe. At the time of his birth, his father Hassan had ruled a portion of Bihar, and at a young age, Sher was offered to rule the domains of his father. Though this came to an end in 1518, when his stepmother began causing strife, in which he left for Agra, and only returned to his former lands in 1521, following the death of his father, while fighting off his half-brother, Suleiman, who initially drove Sher Shah from the state. Sher returned after allying himself with Beher Khan Lohani and occupied his former territories, which was in the same time frame of when the Mughals overthrew the Lodi dynasty in 1526. Meanwhile, Behar Khan Lohani established an independent state in Bihar and donned the title Sultan Muhammad. In the following year, in 1527, Suri met with the Mughal emperor at the time, Babur, at Agra, in which he was suspicious of the Afghan. Meanwhile, Suri could sense that a plot was rising. Therefore, he returned back to Bihar. He then fought in the Battle of Gangara alongside Mahmud Lodi, a contender to the throne against the Mughals. Though following Babur emerging victorious, Sher pledged his allegiance to him. However, by 1532, Humayun besieged Dadra due to the rising threats of the Afghans in the east, led by Mahmud Lodi. He then continued to Chanur, which was controlled by Sher at the time. The siege continued for over 4 months to no avail. As a result, Sher Shah offered his loyalty to the Mughals on the condition that he remained in control of Chunar, also sending one of his sons as hostage. Following this truce, Suri began strengthening his power across the subcontinent. Firstly, he partook in the Battle of Surajgarh in 1534, in which he defeated the combined forces of the Lohani chiefs of Bihar and Mahmud Shah of Bengal. Sher Shah launched his Bengal campaign, and despite aid from the Portuguese, Ghiyasuddin Mahmud Shah was defeated in 1536. The Sultan was offered to pay over 13 million in gold coins and cede his territory up to Sirke Gali. As a result of Suri's campaigns in Bengal, prompted the Sultan to request aid from Humayun, leading to the Mughal emperor mobilizing an army in July 1537, advancing to Chanur. A strong garrison left by Sher Khan at Chunar heroically defended the fort for 6 months, though it was ultimately captured by Humayun in March 1538. However, this did not stop Sher Shah as he continued his expansion, leading a second invasion, seizing Rohtasgarh in March 1538, which he used to situate Afghan families with any loot he obtained during the war. He followed this victory by besieging Gauda, which fell to the Afghan forces by April 1538. Suri then offered favourable terms to Humayun, in which the Mughal emperor would receive Bihar in exchange for Bengal, though Humayun rejected it, as he did not want the wealthy Bengal region to be in the hands of a hostile neighbour. The Mughal emperor then decided to march towards the Bengal region. However, it was marred with problems. Firstly, the poor weather conditions caused Humayun to lose his baggage, as well as the fact that the road to Gauda was locked by Suri's son Jalal Khan, in which fighting did occur. Humayun raided Gauda and restored order in the city, though at the same time Sher Khan had seized Bihar and Varanasi, while also recovering control over Chunar and laying siege to Jaunpur, with other detachments of the Afghan army extending as far as Kanuj. This eventually prompted Humayun to return back to Agra, though on his way back while crossing the Karmanasa river he was attacked by Suri's forces. This ultimately led to the Battle of Chausa, in which Suri's army defeated the weak and docile Mughal forces, and it is noted that Humayun barely escaped alive. Meanwhile, following this victory, Suri assumed the title of Sher Shah. Furthermore, he prepared a march towards Delhi and Agra, which prompted Humayun to muster up an army against Sher Shah. Humayun had to move towards Kanuj with his army in order to check the advances of his adversary. He set up his military camp at Bhojpur near Kanuj, in April 1540, while Sher Shah brought his forces to an halt on the southern bank of the Ganges. It is estimated that the Mughal army was numbered at 200,000 men, and 2 days before the battle took place, on the 15th of May, 1540, a heavy rain flooded the Mughal camp. As the Mughals were preparing to shift to a higher place, Suri ordered his army to attack them. Thus, on the 17th of May, 1540, the Battle of Kannauj was fought. The Mughal army was severely defeated by the Afghans. Most of the Mughal soldiers fled for their lives without fighting, while a large number of them drowned in the Ganges. Sher Shah's victory was complete. As a result of this victory, Suri was again crowned for the second time Sher Shah, being declared as the Emperor of Northern India and donning the title Sultan Adil. This prompted Humayun to flee and seek negotiations with Suri, offering him the entire Hindustan region in exchange for the Punjab, though the Suri Sultan rejected it, subsequently conquering the region. Humayun then decided to head to Kabul, where his brother Kamran was the ruler, though the latter refused to take him in, resulting in Humayun leading his forces alongside the banks of the Indus and towards Multan. Meanwhile, his brothers Kamran and Askari headed towards Kabul. Sher Shah sent his general Khawas Khan to Multan to pursue Humayun, with the order to drive him out. After a lack of success in trying to restore his empire, he sought refuge in Persia, which was ruled by the Safavid Shah Tahmasp I. The first step in restoring the Mughal Empire was when Humayun was granted military aid from Shah Tahmasp I, in which Humayun went on to conquer Kandahar in 1545, in which he initially handed it over to the son of the Shah. Furthermore, in the same year, Suri died, in which it was another step towards reclaiming his throne. Humayun believed he was prepared to take Kabul. However, no siege eventually occurred. Kamran Mirza was detested as a leader, and as Humayun's Persian army approached the city, hundreds of his former troops changed sides, flocking to join Humayun and swelling his ranks. Kamran Mirza absconded and began building an army outside the city. However, while Humayun had the larger army, Kamran Mirza had the upper hand, as on 2 separate occasions Humayun's poor military judgment allowed for Kamran to retake Kabul and Kandahar, forcing Humayun to mount further campaigns to recapture Kabul, in which the third occurred in 1550. Adid, Sher Khan's son, Islam Shah, could not keep the Afghan nobles in check, which was exacerbated following his death in 1553. As a result, Humayun sensed an opportunity with the crumbling Suri Empire, which eventually prompted Shah Tahmasp to offer him a force of 14,000 men to regain his lost territory. Humayun then placed the army under the leadership of Bayram Khan, a wise move given the fact that Humayun had a poor military record. This was a visionary move, as Bayram proved himself a great tactician, and in February 1554 the Mughal forces occupied the Punjab, which included Lahore, without any serious opposition. Following this victory, the Afghan leader at the time, Sikandar Shah, sent detachments against the Mughals, but at every encounter they were beaten, and the Battle of Sirhind took place on the 22nd of June 1555, with the armies of Sikandar Shah Suri were decisively defeated, in which the Mughal Empire was re-established. The victory was largely due to the tactics employed by Bayram Khan, which allowed for the Mughals to defeat Sikandar's forces. After Sirhind, the Mughal forces headed towards the capital, in which most of the towns and villages welcomed them, eventually leading to Humayun reclaiming the throne in Delhi on the 23rd of July 1555. Following his second assumption to power, Humayun saw how Sher Shah greatly improved the system of provincial government and revenue collection. Humayun intended to maintain Suri's village and district administration, whilst also dividing the domain into provinces, with each having a capital. However, Humayun's second reign as Mughal emperor only lasted 7 months, as on the 24th of January 1556 he prostrated at the site of Hira and Diavan, though he caught his foot on his robe, slipped down several steps and hit his temple on a rugged stone edge. He eventually died 3 days later. Since Humayun had no time to introduce reforms, it was up to his 13-year-old son, Akbar, to fulfill his intentions, building an enduring administrative edifice on Babur, Sher Shah, and Humayun's foundations. Humayun's body was initially laid to rest in Purana Koli, but because of an attack by Hemu on Delhi and the capture of Purana Kila, Humayun's body was exhumed by the fleeing army and transferred to Kalanur in Punjab, where Akbar was crowned emperor. After the young Mughal leader Akbar defeated and killed Hemu in the Second Battle of Panipat, Humayun's body was buried in the Humayun tomb in Delhi, the very first grand garden tomb in Mughal architecture, setting the precedent, later followed by the Taj Mahal and many other Indian monuments. However, what do you guys think? Was Humayun the most important Mughal leader of all time?